Welcome to the Social Living Podcast. I go by the name of Julian Green, mentor and social media consultant, and my co-host Jamal Lawrence, social media executive at Superdry, and we talk all things social media. How you doing, Jam? How's your week been?
Yeah, again, another busy week. I feel like it's an ongoing thing, and I keep saying it, but yeah, it's a busy period at the moment. But yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. So yeah, enjoying what social's been bringing to me over the last few months. But yeah, it's not too bad. How's things with you?
Yeah, man, it's been a busy week. Been working a lot with some young kids, helping mentoring. I think mentoring is kind of taken over what I'm doing at the moment, which is good. Trying to lead the way for the next generation, man.
Hmm.
Trying to let as many kids know there are many options in life, and you do not have to choose a negative one. So
Hmm.
yeah, man, I'm working hard. I still got way more to do, but it's good. It's good, and I feel good. I do feel good,
That's good to
man.
hear.
So yeah,
That's good to
yeah,
hear.
man.
That's good to hear.
We got another interesting topic today. The title goes by How Social Media Affects Your Mental Health. It's a big one. Mental health has been something that has been on everybody's lips for probably the last, would you say 5 years? Would you
Yeah, I
say,
think so. I think so. For me, anyway, it's been yeah, definitely the last 5 years that I've seen it like kind of bubble up and rise to the surface.
yeah, like same. I feel like, you know, we're we're human society is moving in like a different direction to what we were moving in before. This probably happens with every generation, but I feel like with the world kind of going into this, sensitivity, let's look after the earth, let's be vegan, let's look after our health, let's not offend anyone. We're getting into that
Mm.
stage and we're starting to see, some of the effects of some of the staples or some of the things that's been put in front of us in society. So we're starting to realize some of their effects. And social media is one of those things. It's one of those big things that's completely changed life as we know it today. So um, if I'm corrected, I think that like before social media, life was very different. In
Mm.
terms of in terms of our parents. So if you're a baby boomer, what's the other generation? Generation X? Is that it? No,
Yeah.
Generation yeah, Generation X. Millennials potentially because they grew up without screens.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think those guys. If you grew up during that time, it was a different era. Different skills were needed. Technology is different. The access to information was very different. Um, Myself and Jamel spoke last week and we were just talking about as fathers some of the conversations that we have with each other is not something that we think maybe our parents ever had. It weren't discussions that our parents ever had. So um yeah, we just kind of want to uncover some of the effects that social media has on our mental health and maybe uncover some of the other things that kind of branch off that, whether it's toxic masculinity, pressures of, beauty
Mm.
and women, feminism, misogyny, and, loads of different things like that. So yeah,
Mm.
let's get down to the nitty gritty, man. Would you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
actually, before we get into it, I do this every episode. Before we get into it, I have a question for you. But
Go
again,
on, hit me.
you don't have to answer it until the end of the show. So,
Mm.
um, what was my question? Oh, so basically, if if no, if success was guaranteed,
Hmm.
in your profession, and you could choose any
Hmm.
profession, any career, what would that career be, what career would you choose? So if success was
Okay.
guaranteed in any profession, what career would you choose? And why, of course.
Okay. Mm. I've got
Yeah,
my answer
yeah.
now.
So
Yeah, yeah. I've got it. Yeah, yeah.
you really got it, yeah.
I've
I
got the
will
answer. Yeah,
we'll uncover it, towards the end of the show. But
yeah.
yeah, that's good. I'm glad you got your answer already. So
Mm.
yeah. All right, cool,
Oh,
man.
cool,
So social
cool.
media, man, has it affected your mental health before? Have you ever felt like, you know what, this is really taking a toll on my life, like social
Mm.
media, or maybe the pressures, let's just throw some of the pressures out there, especially under 30s. The
Mm-hmm.
pressures of maybe getting married, the
I
pressures
think, yeah,
of that's one. The pressures of making enough money, making ends meet. Maybe just the pressures of maybe feeling like you're rich. Um, the pressures of looking a certain way, staying fit, staying in shape. Um, yeah, like, do you feel like any of these things have affected you in a negative way?
yeah. So, like to answer your first question about if I've ever had any negative experiences with social media and my mental health, I don't think I have that has been related to social media itself. But I think for me, the time in my life where I felt like I struggled most with my mental health was the transition of leaving football and trying to find my path.
Yeah.
And I felt like for me, I had to just come away, almost disappear off social media. I didn't want anyone to contact me. I didn't want anyone to know what I was doing. I just needed my own space and I needed to be able to process things and find my direction without I guess that's where I guess the pressures and being seen constantly comes into it. I think that's what I didn't want.
Mm.
I just wanted to be private. I know you have
Yeah.
private accounts and stuff like that, but for me that wasn't enough. I just didn't want, yeah, like I said, to be seen. So I removed myself from social media for a period of time. And it definitely helped find my path. I reckon I took about a 2 year break. I was saying about a
Mm.
2 year, maybe even if not longer, 3 years. It's only my current account now, the private one I have that I'm active on. I've had that since Elias was born. So yeah, I've only been active for the last 2 years. But yeah, I think it kind of stems from the comparison, I guess. Um, especially with your age mates and people you've gone to school with, if you're seeing certain people do well, you start comparing what your life is at the moment to theirs, not knowing the backstory or how they got there and all that jazz. But yeah, it's always a difficult one, and I think I definitely struggled with it in the past. But for me, it wasn't related to social media as a whole. It was kind of my personal life and what I was going through at the time just made me feel like I didn't need to be on it, rather than me getting sucked into that social media hole and
Mm.
comparing myself to my age mates.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But obviously, so you haven't gone through it on in a social media aspect, but just in a life aspect of just like having to deal with real life
Mm.
as it moves you into different directions. And would you give, and is there any advice that you could probably give to someone who might be going through some mental health problems at the moment? So you mentioned a couple
Um,
things there. You mentioned a couple things there, like removing yourself from I get from communication from I guess people you don't want to be messaging you.
mhm. Yeah, I think that's
Um,
for me. Again, like I've worked with people that struggle with mental health, and I've feel like I've been around it often recently. And for me, I seem to link everything back to having a detox and kind of like similar to what I've done and how I removed myself from a situation I didn't want to be in.
mm,
I'd recommend doing the same thing just because it worked for me. Just it didn't have to be like a mindfulness retreat or whatever. Like that can be great, and I'd recommend that too. But it can be something as simple as removing yourself from social media, removing yourself from certain friendship groups. If it's your work that's not giving you fulfillment and causing you mental health issues, removing yourself from your work. That could be for a short period of time or permanently leaving the role. If it's family members, again, removing yourself from that situation. I think it will just help you look and analyze what is causing your mental health to be the way it is, and then you can then make decisions going forward to kind of tackle that. But I think that'd be the main thing for me. It's just that removement, and in that time of removing yourself from that situation, it might be a case of speaking to the ones close to you. If you can find help in terms of psychologists or therapists, speaking to them, speaking to your GP, just yeah, this taking time to focus on yourself and kind of removing yourself from those negative situations you're in.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's very powerful. And you know what? It's good that because you've experienced like a negative, I guess, or is it mental? You've had mental health issues in yourself, and you've been able to kind
Mm,
of overcome it. And obviously, the solutions you're providing obviously is unique to you, but it could
mhm,
also work for other people. They have to try and find it. And I think the key thing you mentioned there was like separating yourself from the having to compare yourself to others. So it's almost like distract yourself from the distraction, if you get what I mean. Because
mhm,
social media is a massive distraction tool. But you've been able to like distract yourself from that so you can focus. So you have to
mhm.
find, it's like you found your focus on what it is that you need to do and then kind of go from there. But I guess that's you kind of like coming into like adulthood, the big world out there. But what
Mhm.
about what about like, I won't say kids, but teenagers, um, and how they might have to deal with it because it's not something that you I think they might find it really hard to try and come off social media, especially during a
Mm.
time where everyone else around them might be on it. And
Yeah,
when I say
it's
teenager, go on.
I was going to say yeah, it's difficult because as teenagers and people in secondary school, I'd say it social media is just a big status symbol. Like you have to be on it, and you have to. I remember being on that, even like Facebook, people would check. Even we were talking about Bebo and that social currency and having the most
Yeah.
likes and stuff like that, and that's kind of carried through the rest of the social media platforms. And yeah, it's
Mhm.
present. It's still present today, but yeah, that's definitely a difficult one to advise for that generation. Again, I'd say remove yourself or maybe keep your account private and follow people that you care about and can bring value to your life. I know it sounds a bit deep for teenagers, but I think that is, yeah, if you could the sooner you get to that stage, I think the happier you'll become. But
Yeah.
yeah, what would you advise to young Killian? Killian's now 14 in
Yeah.
today's world, and he's struggling with that side of stuff. What would you advise him?
Cool. You know what? Is For me, I'm a big believer in community. So
Hmm.
um it's like I feel like obviously us, we're family and we have kids that are similar age. And I think it's extremely important to have family members who Killian could use as like an outlet. So there's going to be times where I'm not going to be able to get through to Killian,
Hmm.
but maybe you can, maybe an auntie
Hmm.
can, maybe a cousin can, maybe Elias can, you know,
Hmm.
and if we all kind of raised or we all put precedent on certain moral values, I believe that's what's going to help aid any of Killian's decisions. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think it's about like setting the right example as opposed to him making an idled situation. So as he's growing up through one all the way up to 14, I think he needs to understand or look and see maybe how his parents have dealt with adversity or anything like that. What do?
Hmm.
Do you take a deep breath? Do you focus? Do you go back and do what you love, or do you take out a cigarette? Do you
Hmm.
do you know what I
Break
mean? Like it's
things.
those
Do you
types.
release your
Do you
anger?
break
Yeah.
beer? Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think that's why I feel like it's the environment. Obviously, there's going to be
100%.
isolated stories. There's going to be isolated stories of where people from the most like calmest family are just raged. But
Hmm.
that could be another situation of maybe things just being bottled up, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's a lot to do with masculine energy, feminine energy, testosterone, especially young boys when they get from like 12, 13, 14, 15, they start acting out in class and they start doing all these different things. And I think it's during those ages where kids I think they need discipline, but they should take part in something that's fun, but that requires discipline. So,
Mm.
us when we were kids, we weren't out gallivanting on the roads and just doing madnesses, but we had football
Hmm.
in our lives. We needed to be fit for football. Everything was revolved around football. So, in one essence, football keeps you out of trouble. Do you know what I mean? Because if you got a match and training and stuff, you haven't got time to be just out here on the street doing whatever, whatever, whatever. And if you got in your head that you want to be a footballer, you're more likely to be more focused on that. But there's other
Yeah.
disciplines like things like boxing, martial arts. They teach all these things, but also what that does is it tires you out. Where some kids might
Hmm.
not have exposure to things that might knacker them out. So you burn all this testosterone, you burn the testosterone, like you use it. So
Mm.
if you do boxing and stuff like that, it's a discipline, and you don't want to lose your sparring match or whatever it is you want to do, but you get to do that and you exert all this energy. But if you don't have anything like that, you're more likely to be out here on the street trying to rob someone because you need the adrenaline, you need that kind of stuff. And
Mm.
um, I think those types of things are really important. I don't know how I strayed away to that. And we're meant to be talking about mental health. You might have to help me. You might have to help
It's
bring
all
me
part.
back.
Now that's all part of it. Though that is all part of it because it's stuff kids will struggle with, and it will essentially affect their mental health
Yeah,
through
exactly.
decision making and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all relative. It's all
Yeah,
relative.
fair. I lost my way there a little bit, but yeah, no, you got it for sure.
Mm.
No, because it's exactly that. It's exactly that. So, um, this will help clear their mind a little bit more. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So you have your values, and I think you have morals. And you know what? Like I've been working from a college for the last 3 months, and
Hmm.
I've seen a wide variety of kids, and there's so many kids out there that are just misunderstood, and a lot of them are dealing with mental health issues. A lot of them are
Hmm.
dealing with not so much on the social media front. There's quite a few on the social media front, but I think they're so misunderstood by teachers. I'm gonna make this specific to black boys because I see a lot of black boys at the moment, and they're just like misunderstood by teachers. They're already a lot of some are like judged by teachers. A lot of them are pressured by their environment as well, in terms of how they should be and how they should act and all this type of stuff. They're also pressured by social media to try and give off a certain lifestyle. Like, when you go to school and some kids have got Gucci belts and stuff, and you're just like, come on,
Mm.
you haven't got money for an actual Gucci belt. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And if you did, you're doing something dodgy, or do you know what I mean? But there's like a lot of pressure. There's not truth behind some of these things that they
Do
they
you
hold on to.
do you feel like they know? You mentioned that they definitely struggle with mental health. Do you feel like they know that? Do you feel like they know what they're going through, or do you feel like they think that's just part of their life and that's just how they feel?
I think it really depends. I think some are aware. Like I had a chat yesterday with a boy, and he he got in trouble, right? And someone asked me to go speak with him, and I spoke with him. Yo, this boy is brighter than anything. I couldn't like. I was surprised. Why he's in
Mm-hmm.
trouble is just because it's like it's his environment, you know. But he has morals. He has either family with morals, so he knows what he's here to do. And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's two steps when it comes to changing behavior. The first thing is taking responsibility for your behavior. And I think that's what he's doing at the moment. He's about to start taking responsibility. But then after that is accountability. So once you take
Mm-hmm.
accountability for your actions, that's when you don't make the mistake. So you take responsibilities like, yeah, I did that, I did wrong, and I'm sorry. Right? But that
Mm-hmm.
might not mean that you won't. That might not mean that you won't do it again. But you've taken
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. You know you've done wrong. Where some people might do wrong. No, I didn't do that. No, 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 no. You know they deny it, so
Mm-hmm.
they're not actually taking responsibility for their action. But some people take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, and then after that responsibility is when you take accountability, and then you're like, yeah, I know where this leads me to. I'm not trying to do that. I'm going to do this, and I think that that transition has to be learned. And it's probably through the ages of like 14 to like 21 or whatever, where you kind of like learn those. And it's going to be at different paces. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when
No,
I came like a expert at this. I don't. I just thinking. Literally just
I just
like
think it's
that's
life. I
why.
think it's just life, you know, the life lessons that
Yeah.
you learn as you go older, and obviously the people younger than you haven't been able to go through it, so you feel like you're in a position to advise.
Mm,
It's like wisdom almost. Like I definitely get it. And Black Boys, yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely an issue. Because I even remember like when I was my football transitional period, I didn't really understand what I was going through. It's only when I look back at it now, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I was suffering a bit, but at the time, I don't know if it was a good thing because I was
Mm,
just getting on with it. But
mm,
what I think now is it would have been approached differently.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
whether and then that's a different debate as well, whether that's good or bad or what the right way is. Because I think the right way is different for different people, and
Yeah. Agreed.
it's just finding that your route. But just having an
Mm,
open mind to different ways to overcome it. But yeah, so definitely an issue with Black Boys and I guess that opening up and like you said, being accountable of your of your decisions, of your surroundings, and kind of focus on on making better choices, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. It's extremely important. Extremely important. And for me, I've always wanted to kind of go back into I wanted to go into mentoring because only I only say this because when I was a kid from 8 years old, I've been mentored by the same person, right? And uh he probably at the time he probably didn't see himself as a mentor. I wouldn't even say I'm not gonna say he's like a mentor now, but I'm still in touch with him. And
Mm.
it's just the effect. I was 8 years old and he was 16 when we first met. But
Who was he? Who was he to you?
so he was so when you go to primary school in my area, after school we had like an after school club where you would go if your parents worked obviously until like 5:30 or 6 or whatever, and then they would come and pick you up. So from 3:30, once you finish school, you would go to this after school club. You go play. It's like you play games, you do different activities, you might go on different trips and stuff like that. And um, when the 16-year-old joined, he took a liking to myself and my best friend at the time, who's also my business partner at the agency. And he just kind of took us under his wing because he liked that we played football. And believe it or not, there were other kids who were just didn't play football, but their whole focus was just, I'm gonna distract other people, if you get what I mean.
Hmm.
But he took us under the wing, and he just kind of because we like football, he just was like, yeah. I want to make sure that these guys don't get distracted by anything else. So
Hmm.
anything he got distracted with, he would let us know, look, that's not it. Do you know what I mean? And it just
Yeah.
continued from like 8 years old all the way to like 18, you know.
Hmm.
We just maintained the relationship because he helped us all through like primary school. We just maintained a relationship through secondary school. So he was still working at my primary school. So sometimes after school, if I had to pick up my sister, I would go back and check him, and he would still continue to kind of drop game and drop
Hmm.
information. And like he's like, all right, you're 16 now. You're gonna feel pressured to, you know, wanna have a girlfriend or da 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 da. And
Hmm.
he's like, look, if you're trying to do your football thing, you need to focus, like, or blah blah blah. So there'll be certain things where you're seeing like you might feel pressure to do something, but you're not ready to take it on. Like some people
Hmm.
get into relationships bare young, like 14, and have like 4 year relationships, and then next minute they're like, let's say they're 14, they're in some relationship with someone slightly older, they're messing around, teenage pregnancy, but then none of them are ready to
Hmm.
handle it. But they've been acting like
Hmm.
they've been married. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's
Hmm.
probably seen that firsthand, and he's guided me in a way of like, this is what happens if you do this. This is what happens if
Hmm.
you do that. But I had the what's I guess the maturity to understand what he was saying to me. I could take in his message. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Big up
I think
Ethan
that's
for listening to the
important.
show as well. Yeah, go on.
Mm. I think that's important to have that as young boys having that figure. Because sometimes I guess a dad can seem too distant in terms of age range. You might not feel like they understand what you're going through, different generations.
Yeah,
And then you've got cousins who are family, so sometimes you might not feel as open to speak to them. So having that other figure, especially within the school, within that environment, is important because you kind of looked up to your elders and the people a few years older than you, and they were then the cool kids. You took their message in, you'd listen to them, but it's
yeah,
important that you've got someone giving you positive messaging because that happens, but it happens in the wrong way, and the elders will start feeding these kids, yeah, negative information that they shouldn't be dealing with at that age. So if you can find that positive figure, definitely stick around. And
mm.
if you find one that's not giving morally what they're telling you isn't right, stay away.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like this, when it comes to, that's why I say the important thing for me, just by knowing that, is the community around you. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
understanding that maybe as a black boy growing up, or even if you're a mixed race or whatever, having someone that can just relate to you within your school is really, really important. Like I was so lucky that you probably didn't have that at your school. Like
no,
I
no.
know, I know other people didn't have that at their school, but I was lucky in my situation to have someone who like just coached me through life, like ever intentionally or unintentionally. It was just a good figure who was trying to do good for themselves and has already been exposed to things and was just trying to guide you into the right path. You know what I mean? He's not telling me what to
Mm,
do, but he's showing me the consequences of actions that I might have to face. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
hmm.
when I make my decision, I already know the consequence of that. Do you know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
I feel like I'm already experienced. But again, people learn in
Yeah,
different ways. Some
I
people
think that's.
some people it's gone.
I was just gonna say, I think that's an important message, and you can take that on to social as well by like your message about community. Ultimately, the people you follow and that are following you then become your community, and you're then choosing whether you're following people that are giving you positive or negative messaging, and without knowing these people will help shape your decision making. For example, if you're a young boy, I don't, I know this has been a topic for a while about drill and the young kids listening to drill and what that might do to them. But just being around that thought process and what they're talking about constantly will end what you start taking it in, and you might not maybe copy their lifestyle, but you might just look at life a different way. Whereas if you were following I don't want to bring rappers into it, but if you're following the different musicians or different influencers or friends or whatever it might be, it will just help shape or steer you along a different path. It's just, yeah,
Mm.
make, like you said, community is massive, and that community is also on social media, and it's that bubble you're in terms of who you're following and who's following you.
Yeah, it's true. I'm like we mentioned it last week when Ethan joined us as well, and we were talking about the algorithm and what social media does. So like if you watch videos of people dancing, you're more likely to be shown videos of people dancing, right? But if you're
Hmm.
that works in a positive and negative way. So if you're watching things like Love and Hip Hop and it only shows people being hyped, the fighting, infidelity, is it infidelity? Not, is that the word infidelity? No, when you're cheating on someone, I can't remember the word. But
Mm.
yeah, when you're, people cheating on one another and you're constantly like engaging with this type of content, that's gonna be around you all the time.
Hmm.
And then this is where we see the birth of like, oh, everyone should have a side ting or a side chick and all this different type of stuff. And it's like that mentally that's pulling on everybody, because
And this is,
sometimes go on.
so I was just gonna say that at the start you mentioned toxic masculinity, and this is like where it stems from, because these
Yeah,
toxic behaviors then become part of it, more and more men's thought patterns, and they start adapting that way of thinking and acting, not
yeah,
realizing or knowing where it's coming from.
yeah, and they think it's cool. Like, it's cool to have
Mm,
a side chick, but you might not be able to handle having a side chick or
mm,
the effects of having a side chick. And like, yeah, I think, you know what, we should actually dive into toxic masculinity, like as we're on the topic, and it's part of kind of mental health. Like there's a lot of men out there at the moment who, I guess, like they avoid vulnerability. But again, it might not be no fault of their own. I can tell you for sure, like showing any kind of vulnerability is probably a sign of weakness, in
mm-hmm,
in other generations.
mm,
The belief in homophobic beliefs, and just kind of maybe ignoring personal traumas, um, certain beliefs about women, you know, like all these things kind of play into toxic right masculinity. Like we've all heard the saying, be a man, suck it up.
mm,
And
mm.
um yeah, like I don't know, have you ever felt those pressures before? Do you feel
Those
like
toxic, yeah, definitely within. I think when you're surrounded by guys, it's definitely at its worst. So as I was progressing through my football career, I didn't notice it, but now looking back, I get what why people were like they how they were in terms of looking up at the older pros and what the advice they were giving to me at the time about maybe just taking stuff on the chin, not reacting to certain things, and just kind of riding it, which is also good advice. But sometimes you do need to be able to speak to someone, especially as a young pro. It might be not as relatable to many people, but that situation can be a younger brother speaking to an older brother or an older cousin or an uncle or something, or whatever it might be. But just having someone you can conversate with rather than someone that's just giving you advice. So I think that helps kind of break down the barriers, and you can connect to another man and be a bit vulnerable. But before that was a no go. Nah, you're not vulnerable. You can't. You're a man. You got to get on with it. But
yeah,
not one. Whereas now you kind of have the opportunity to, like you said, like the conversations we have that wouldn't have happened in our dad's generation about fatherhood and the struggles of that. So yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I definitely experienced it in my life. What about you? Can you say the same?
yeah, I feel like it's a constant thing, man. Like there's
Mm,
so many moments where you're told to like suck it up, this is not about you, or there's like certain things. It's just like I think that I can talk about my feelings, I think to be fair, I think our generations from millennials onwards, I think they're able to actually have emotional conversations.
Hmm.
Like, do you like if we were to talk to our granddad, for example, do you reckon we could have an emotional conversation with granddad? Like, I just don't think it would.
No, no.
Do you know
So
what I mean?
yeah, it's just he wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think he's not. He's gone through his life not being able to do that. That's not a normal thing. Like just the whole that his whole life was from a position of strength, I guess. And I
Yeah,
can't imagine, even when he first come over to the country, I can't imagine him like talking about his struggles, or if it did, it might have been over a pint, and when they were 6 pints in, they might start
yeah.
speaking about it. But it wasn't a natural conversation.
But even just drinking the pints might be just his way of dealing with it. Like, okay,
Hmm.
I know I'm gonna after like 2 or 3 pints, I'm gonna feel away from my feeling. I'm gonna be separate from my feeling because I'm in
Hmm.
a merry place. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like that's how some people dealt with certain things. But
Hmm.
I think sometimes that can go too far for some people and it becomes a reliance. They rely on that to get them through whatever it is that they're facing. And I saw it on Made You Think or something like that, where they were talking about suicide rates amongst men and suicide rates amongst women. And amongst men, it's
Hmm.
like one of the fastest right now. And yeah, men are constantly faced with certain battles, like all the time. Like we've had conversations, you probably see these conversations within our community all the time where, oh, um, a man has to have money to be able to
Hmm.
take me out on a date or something, or a man if a man asks me out on a date, he should pay for it all, and whatever I want in the
Hmm.
menu, he should be able to pay for it. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I saw a post today which I thought was ridiculous. It was a bill for 6 grand at a restaurant, and the caption was um uh a man should be able to handle this kind of bill. And I was like, whoa.
Hmm.
Imagine that obviously I wasn't sure in myself. If I saw that, I'm gonna be like, yo, I need to get my money up, or I'm not
Hmm.
worth it because I can't afford that. But you're like 19.
Hmm.
Are you expected to have
Yeah,
six
yeah,
grand
yeah.
just disposable?
There, it's
And
it.
then
Yeah, yeah,
suddenly when you get to 21 and you're seeing all these, because the birth of social media and YouTube and whatever, you're seeing all these suddenly 21-year-old millionaires. It's like, oh,
yeah.
you're 21 and you haven't made it, and
Hmm.
the girl that you have a crush on is saying that she needs people to pay 6 grand for her meal.
Hmm.
Yeah, like how's that gonna make you feel self-esteem wise?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a terrible place for that. And you see it, like even if it's not that meal, it might be clothes. Like if my man's not got on a Rolex, or if my man's not wearing the latest Dior trainers or whatever it might be, or Jordans. Like these Jordans are expensive shoes, but they've now become common and 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 expected. So if you can't afford
yeah,
the Jordans, does that mean you're not the guy? You're not it? So like, yeah, it's a terrible place for it. And then it comes in the form of memes as well. And those memes, even though it's jokey subjects, these memes kind of add fuel to the fire because it's still around, it's still in people's view, and they're still taking in. It's just a different format. But
you can see it.
yeah,
But
mm,
also I was gonna say, like that toxic masculinity right there, like is that it's like it's that's kind of like sometimes it's birthed from women, but then it has a knock-on effect because it makes you look at women as a different, like a certain commodity. It's like
mhm,
you're not looking at them as like humans. It's just like, okay, this girl likes me because of my Jordans. But
mhm,
then if someone else has something else, you might feel threatened. Oh, this guy, he's wearing Balenciagas. Oh, I might lose my girl to this guy now because
mhm,
the president was on this material thing,
mhm.
as opposed to any connection you might have with the girl or anything like that. So it can birth like a misogynistic, like a certain kind of like hate towards women, and it might be like an
Definitely.
underlying hate. It's like a like a underlying hate where it's like not that you hate women, but like you treat them in a certain way
Hmm.
because of
Definitely.
like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? You just treat them like
Mm.
as objects. Like
Hmm.
I can't like I in London, I've been out so many times. I work in marketing. There's been so many bars I've been to, old white men. I don't want to single them out. I don't want to stereotype them as well, but like it's just what I've experienced so much. The way some of them talk about women is ridiculous. Like
Mm.
I don't even know how to explain it. It's like they're not the way they say certain things, that women are not human. And I don't know if it's
Mm.
because of the way I've been raised. To me, women are amazing creatures. Like I have nothing but respect. And this probably came after more so like after seeing my wife give birth, just like what the human body can do and like just what women kind of go through. It just raised my respect for them. I think I try to always have as much respect for women as possible,
Hmm.
but I feel like after my wife gave birth, it was like it's a next level. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Definitely.
Like,
Definitely. I'm with you there.
the, this whole world wouldn't exist if there was no women. Like it wouldn't exist.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And
It's good. Yeah,
um,
because some people just aren't there mentally. Like you said, some people look at women as an object almost, and they become like another commodity. It becomes another. I see so many, especially when I'm walking around London and bigger cities and on social media, you see so many trophy like relationships. Like this
oh
is
yeah,
my man because he wears this, he does that, he drives whatever, or this is my girl because she's got this handbag or whatever, and it becomes part of that image gang, and they think it's about image rather than substance, which brings on its another load of issues. So I think it's just
mm,
being able to see through this, like that social media lens is definitely on as soon as you click on that app, but it's being able to kind of see through it and not take everything so literal because
oh
we probably all know someone that stunts on Instagram, but really in real life they're not there.
oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Yeah, like I seen it all. I seen like obviously I like to keep my relationship is extremely, I don't want to say extremely private, but if you know me, you know my relationship. That's it, done.
Mm,
But if you're on social media, you're not gonna see my relationship. You're not gonna see like me being under the comments of my missus's page or do you know what I mean? You're not gonna see any of that
mm,
because I don't know. To me, it's like that. It's not even the first thing that comes to my head. But some people
mm,
have to make it a thing. It's like they're trying to be a brand, like a perfect brand.
mm,
But you got to remember, brand is a like a seriously thought out image, and that's
mm,
what people are doing to their relationships. And then it goes left, and then
mm,
they're removing all the images
mm,
of their ex and all this other stuff. Like, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people have the biggest issues in their relationship, but every week, I love my man. Oh, I love my
mm.
woman. Da, 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 da. Oh my God. Men like these. He's a keeper.
We've seen it, man. I've heard conversations like, my man don't post me enough on Instagram, or everything's related to like Instagram is like the final piece to the pie. Like you have to be showing and you have to be like you have to show that perfection almost. I see. It's a terrible place for that. Like I can feel like I'm just thinking of all these examples, and you kind of know, like you said, you kind of know the situation and what the relationship might be like. But on social media is the best thing.
Yeah. I think you need to really look at like, do you really require other people's um do you need other people's approval for your relationship? Because
Mm,
if you really do, like don't get me wrong, I think sometimes you might need the approval of other people in your relationship, but who are those people that need that approval? And if it's something like your parents, that's different. Do you know what I mean? They
mm,
know you. Do you know what I mean? And if they're trying to put an obstacle in your way, it's more like to see, are you gonna break through this obstacle to be with this girl? And if you do, then she might be the one for you. But if you're
mm,
not, then it might not be. Do you know what I mean? But it's got to be people that you respect entirely, not just people that you follow on Instagram and you know nothing about. I think that's really
Hmm.
important. You saying we got a
Definitely.
question? We got a question. We got a question here, yeah. Chris, let's load this one up, Chris.
Hey Jamal, hey Jules. You know, I know we think that like drugs are drugs, and that's the only form of drugs, something that we take and consume through our mouths. But even the things that affect our brain can be consumed through our eyes, and even the things we put in our ears can affect our brain as well. And so, social media, they 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 create drugs, and it affects our neurology just like regular drugs that we consume. It affects our neurology, our body, our chemistry, our the way our hormones move, and all that. It gets us agitated. It gets us excited. It does all these different things to our neurology that we are sometimes even unaware of. And yeah, if it can affect us in our day to day, then it can definitely affect our mental health. I hope what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, I'm
Shall
gonna
we
play the
play his
next.
second? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play the second one
So
as well.
to further explain what I'm saying in my last comment, I'm a software engineer, make websites. I used to work in the advertising tech industry, and there's a lot of psychology and neuroscience done to figure out how to get people to stay on the platform. The colors, the words, how the words are placed on the colors, the content that's being fed, the machine learning algorithms, even learning a bit about your personality, shaping the content to make sure that it matches you, using your views and your interaction with the content to make sure that you are continuously engaging with the content, that you are always having a reason to come back and consume this thing from your eyes, from your ears. And so it's a drug. And so sometimes you got to treat it like a drug. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
You had some really strong points there. Thank you, Chris,
Mm.
for putting in those comments. I think you're so right about everything you've just said there. I myself also worked in advertising previously, and knowing certain colors are put into certain adverts to make you feel a certain way, even into like logos and branding. You know, these all play a toll, and that doesn't stop at our advertising. It also continues into social media, and we also understand that social media is completely there to make you stay on there for as long as possible. I spoke about it a couple of episodes ago, where I was talking about when I first felt like I was addicted to social media, and it wasn't Instagram, it wasn't Facebook, it was on a platform called Bebo, and I was addicted to getting like notifications. I always wanted to see, okay, is someone going to share their love with me, which is like a social currency they had on the app, and I was just on there constantly. And then when you see the beast that is Instagram and Facebook, and the way they want you to keep a lookout for notifications, the way they have you just swiping, like people's literally, they've gone through their whole feed. There's nothing more. They are swiping for that refresh. That's like an addiction. They need that kick, that endorphins, and it could just be because they posted a picture. They want to make sure they get instantly likes and likes and likes, and they're swiping to see, has anyone liked it yet? Has anyone liked it yet? If they didn't like it in the first 10 minutes, then that means no one likes it. So, like these are all having extremely strong pulls on your mental health. And it also kind of gives you false sense of community just because people have liked it, you know? Like, Jam, you told me, have you ever just gone through a post and just double taps? But do you like it like that? Like, do you really, really like it? Or you just
Yeah.
kind of double tap it? Do you know what I mean?
Sorry.
So, oh, we lost you there, Jam. I don't know what you just said.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, yeah, you're there now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sorry, say that again. I lost. Yeah, I think I lost connection.
Okay, cool. So I was saying that, do you hear what I said about Chris?
I don't know what's happened.
I can hear
Hello?
you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
I
I
can hear
can't.
you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. We're gonna play.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna load. We're gonna load another comment mentioned by Chris based on what um I just said.
Let me say, I believe that it's okay to do drugs. Just make sure that the drugs aren't doing you. That you aren't being controlled by the drugs, the alcohol, the weed, the social media, um, because your dependency on it makes them money. And you should instead use the drugs to enlighten yourself, to grow as a human being, um, because drugs are everywhere. Sugar is a drug. The sugar industry doesn't pump it as a drug. I mean, like show it as a drug, but it's a drug. We are consuming more sugar than our ancestors did, and they've made it's there's there's a book called The Case Against Sugar that shows that the way that they use sugar should have been illegal in America. But whatever the case is, make sure that you use your drugs to go the direction you want to go instead of being led astray to their direction.
You know what? I think that you know what that's I think that's 100% true what you're saying. I've never actually heard a conversation about drugs in a positive manner since I heard a conversation with Stephen Bartlett, and I can't remember the other guy's name. I don't know if you remember, Jam, but they were talking about the drug industry and how drugs can actually help mental health.
Was, was that a
And
psychedelics episode?
the psychedelics episode, yes,
Yeah.
exactly that.
Mm,
And I'm sure when Chris is mentioning using drugs to enlighten yourself, we might be talking around things like different types of weed, maybe mushrooms, or what else is there? Like things like ayahuasca, things like that. These are like real like enlightenments. But again, I still feel like you have to have a certain kind of mentality to be able to take in this type of information, because when like if I was to say to my mom now, or when I was 18, mom, I'm gonna go take some mushrooms, she's gonna be like, what? You know what I mean? It's not
mm.
something, but that can act, but what it can do, it can help you in a positive way. It just has to have the right dose, and it shan't be treated as like an addiction. You can't use it as like an addiction, so you shouldn't do. It's like when someone's saying do add psychedelics, it might be once a year, not every 2 months or every month or whenever you want to get off your face. That's different. That's a reliance on it. It's just using it for these kind of like enlightened moments to just help balance you out. Where you might need an escape, but you don't rely on it to escape, if you get what I mean. So,
For sure,
but
for
I think that's
sure.
I think that's another like I think that's a whole episode because I want to uncover the whole thing about drugs and psychedelics and how it can be beneficial for mental health. But I think it really requires like its own episode in itself. But
Mm.
I definitely think it can be used in a positive way. Should we see what Ethan's got to say quickly? We're just gonna load you,
Yo, used
Ethan.
to, what's going on? I've been listening since the thing started. I've got some very valid points. Um, yeah, I can't go all the points because obviously it'll be a long message, but yeah, I'd love to get involved in the conversation again because, yeah, used to some really good points that you put across. But yeah, man, Bebo, high five, MySpace. I think the first friend you had on MySpace was Tom. So yeah, I remember all them.
Remember that I was telling you about Tom. I was saying he was the friend everyone. I don't know if he owned MySpace or whatever it was, but he was everybody's friend on MySpace, and it was just a thing. I just remember the picture of this white guy, and he's like his head slightly turned, and he was like the guy on on
Yeah, I
MySpace.
remember you saying. I remember you saying.
I don't know. Should we add Ethan into the conversation?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna play this last one quick.
So there's ayahuasca, the froggy one. Um, but yeah, I've looked into this, man. Ayahuasca is one of the things that I want to do. But then I've looked on a couple of things, and there was this yogi. that basically said don't use drugs as a like a back door. Use meditation and then do it properly.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I think things like meditation um, is something that I think I would rather rely on meditation and do something like ayahuasca like once a year or something. I feel like, yeah. But I feel like I'm at that mental stage where it's something that I can do. I've heard about people taking ayahuasca and they were faced with some demons, man. And I feel like you have to face those demons in meditation first, personally. Because if you got something looming over your head all the time, constantly, I feel like if you do take a certain drug, it might just project that even more. Do you get what I mean? So I feel
For
like you have to
sure.
be really careful where your mindset is at. Where like I'm in a mindset of like constantly looking forward. I accept all my demons. I accept my wrongdoings. I take accountability for anything that I have done. I'm in a place of gratitude. I'm also in a place of growth. I'm trying to live life on my own terms and nobody else's terms. So when it comes to like testing out certain things, I'm testing it out on my terms and nobody else's. It's not because of the influence of somebody else or whatever. I've gone and I've searched for this information. So yeah, I think yeah, we need to have that that kind of conversation for sure.
No, definitely, man. Definitely, it's definitely one for another episode just to dive into that space. But definitely in the
Mm.
meantime, I'd 100% recommend the psychedelics episode with Stephen Bartlett, and I cannot remember the guest's name, but yeah, it's definitely it's I reckon for me it's definitely top five episodes of his.
Mm. Oh, 100%. I'm actually gonna go search for it now and make sure that people actually have the name of it because that episode was something else. It proper changed my perception. Because as I got older, I've seen people take psychedelics in different ways, and my perception of it, because I guess in the black community, we I feel like we have one drug, and that might be just be weed or maybe alcohol, and that's it. And the some people might abuse it and they abuse it too much. And that's with both weed and alcohol. They're both drugs and they both can be used in certain ways. But I feel like that's it. If there's anything outside of that, it's almost like whoa, you're a druggie. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you take ecstasy
Mm,
or you take this. Do you know what I mean? It's like the perception of it is very, very different. Um,
mm,
but where like now I've rubbed shoulders with like other communities and I've seen certain things. Some of the smartest people I know take psychedelics, and they don't take psychedelics like they don't hate, they don't like use it as a way of escape. It's literally a way of like enlightenment for them.
mm,
And my perception of that, if when I was younger, would be mental. Like it would be like, yo, I'm not ever doing that. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
But I feel like as I got older, as long as you take something psychedelics in a controlled, I have to repeat it, controlled environment, with the right amount, right dosage, and things like that, I think it could probably awaken a lot of people. And just just clear a lot of things up in your mind.
mm.
Um,
Definitely, definitely.
whether it's like just seeing things from a different perspective. Sometimes we get stuck in one perspective and we victimize ourselves, but if you do take a psychedelic, you might see a different um, point of view. And Ethan mentioned, things like ayahuasca, and that's a big thing. And it's something from like indigenous. It's indigenous in terms of like South America. Indigenous people used to take this, and they used to. It was like their way of like connecting with either like higher beings or ancestors and getting messages and things like that. And it makes me think like a lot of stories, maybe in the Bible. When you hear like you know people have done this or had certain experiences in the Bible. If you have read the Bible, there's a lot of, I know Joe Rogan has spoken about this, where they think like people like Jesus, they took like mushrooms. They would eat mushrooms. They had mushrooms with them to get
Mm,
messages, whether it's from God or things like that. And now we look at it, it's not in that, like, we look at it as like a negative thing, but back then it was like those who had access to those were able to relay messages and change the world in different ways. The fact that we can still mention Jesus or Muhammad or whatever prophet there might have been, that, it's stories that has been told through the times, and they there's a possibility that they were taking psychedelics on a regular basis to be able to do certain things. I
definitely,
think
definitely.
that opens up a different conversation.
For
So
sure. Nah, I agree, man. That's one for another episode just to dive into all of that. It needs its
yeah,
own space.
100%. Um, but yeah, like Jam, have you ever considered taking any psychedelics? Have you ever taken any psychedelics?
I haven't, and it's not really come to my mind. I don't think I'm there mentally yet. I don't think I'm in that space to kind of explore that. I think, yeah, maybe in a few years I might be looking into it, but yeah, at the moment I've not, yeah, it's not been a focus of mine or something that's kind of entered my headspace.
I think for me, I've never taken any psychedelics. I think that it's something I'm open to at my age now, but I would want it to be in like a really controlled environment. And that episode with Stephen Bartlett. So if you don't follow Stephen Bartlett, please do check him out on YouTube. It's his YouTube channel is called The Diary of a CEO. And the episode that we're talking about is with Christian Angermeyer, a billionaire's guide to healing your mind and extending your life. Um, and yeah, I think if you check out that episode, you might have a different perception of psychedelics and how it can actually benefit people, especially like as we get older, especially in the Black community. I think things like dementia is something that's so common. But if you could take a psychedelic that will help you or help delay or help improve your situation of um, dementia, I think you should take it. And technology is also moving in that direction as well, where there are certain things that people want to do with technology, like for example, the metaverse and things like that, can help aid, people who have elderly illnesses, to kind of help make their brain stronger and help build like different patterns or reconnect patterns that are broken within your brain. Because the brain is so complex. There's no there's no like uh cure to certain things that happen within your brain. So like there's no drug that you can give to someone. And when I say drug, I mean like drugs that they use now when you have mental health issues. It's like, oh, this just calms you down, or it just makes you drowsy, or it stops you from acting out. Yeah, those are not helping your situation, if you get what I mean. It's a stimulant
Masking
to
it.
give that they
Mm,
give you. Yeah, they mask it and they make you stay on that kind of course, and that's it. And then there's side effects with those things as well. So I know it happens a lot more in America, where if your child is showing symptoms of like ADHD or something like that, they start giving them like tablets that help them like calm down. But if you're a child or whatever, you're gonna be hyper. Like, what's wrong with them being hyper? It's gonna happen. But they will
hmm.
try and give you like pills and stuff to like make you reliant on these things to calm your child down. Where again, it was like what I was saying earlier, where you can, kids they have these energies and they need to be exerted. They need to be exerted at certain times. They need to take part in karate, taekwondo, football, whatever sport it might be, where it requires a discipline, and then they can use that. You don't need to give them a drug. And I think it's a similar with like mental health. There are certain times where people like the NHS might want to give you drugs for it, but what are those drugs? They're there to just calm you down, but it doesn't give you like a psychedelic experience. that actually changes your outlook. It's not an enlightening experience. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I
It's
think
not there
if we
to
can do
sort the problem. It's like almost there just to mask it. Like it's like a temporary
it,
fix, but that temporary fix often becomes a permanent, like a permanent solution for them. Whereas that shouldn't be the solution. That might be a temporary thing, but there's got to be other avenues to explore that's more of a has more long-term benefits, I guess.
100%. And we see when it comes to, I feel like I'm just like wolf whistling, but not wolf whistling, whistle blowing. Is that what it's called? When you call
Mm.
out like agencies and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I feel like when it comes to like the Western world and it comes to I guess health, their outlook on health is very much they subscribe you to something. That something isn't the long-term solution, but it will be something that you have to like it's like another avenue of money, literally. And this happens with everything. Someone might be blind, they can't see, but you have to wear glasses. And then you're going to be buying glasses for the rest of your life. So you're a long-term customer. And it's um the same with certain drugs, same with like treatment, like cancer patients, things like that. It's treatment. So you have a treatment and then they keep you with that. Isn't there something where, oh, you should probably, if your eyes are weak, shouldn't we focus on trying to make your eyes stronger? Is there something we can give your body that can make your eyes stronger? But no, they want to make you reliant on glasses, which make your eyes weaker because you have to you're looking through something that makes your eyes look good so you can
Mm.
see. But what if there was something out there that you like, okay, there's a certain amount of time you have your glasses on, a certain amount of times you have your glasses off, or something like that. If you look at it, if you take a different approach where you're actually trying to make your eyes stronger as opposed to making them weaker, you have a different outcome if you focus
Mm.
your energies on those things. You know what I mean? But again, that's just how my view on Western medicine is very much like we're not going to try and remove the issue. We're going to let you keep the issue, but you're going to be reliant on us for your help with this issue, if you know what I
Mm.
mean. And I thought
No,
I have an
definitely.
issue with it. I have an issue with that. So yeah, we saying Ethan, what
For
you got
sure,
for
man.
us?
So, with regards to ADHD drugs, I got diagnosed with ADD a few years ago, and they basically asked me if I wanted to go on pills. So I said, yeah, let's try it. And basically, it made me feel tired. It made my brain basically just, I didn't feel nothing. And then, yeah, it just made me want to go to sleep all the time, man. So, yeah, they kind of suck. But, yeah, bro, yeah, it sucks. Them kind of drugs. But it's also knowing how to handle it. So, in response to your question now about glasses, so with regards to that, so I went opticians a couple of years ago, and basically she said that my eyes are. I need such a tiny prescription that my eyes are okay. Now I'm starting to get headaches a lot more. I don't know if that's due to me being on looking at a screen a lot more, but I'm gonna see how my eyes are now. So that's into your response. Just into your. That's giving you a response to your question now.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So regarding the ADD thing, um, I feel like yeah, like you kind of advocating that, these drugs is this is how it's making me feel. Again, I know so many other people who, feel same with some of the drugs and treatments that they're on. Um, for like if even if it's like things like pain or whatever it is, just things it might remove the pain, but then you feel drowsy, you feel tired, you feel all these different things. And me personally, I feel like if we're thinking of healing someone, you should probably want to feel the opposite to that. You want to feel energized. You want to feel focused. You want to feel, like I'm on top of the world, you know. And if it doesn't make you feel that way, I feel like it might not be the right drug for you. But I also understand that when your body's fighting something, your body's doing overtime to kind of heal it. But we also have to focus on what your body needs to fight. So we probably need to look at it as like, let's say there's bad cells and good cells in your body. If you already got good cells in there and they're trying to fight the bad cells, we need to give your body extra good cells like soldiers, whatever it might be. And I'm a big advocate for it being your diet. So whatever good cells we can get or good energies we can get from your diet to help aid, those good cells that's in your body to fight whatever it is. I feel like that's what the focus should be on, as opposed to, using some kind of thing to just relax you, or oh, this it doesn't make the situation go worse. We just keep it where it is, but it doesn't get worse or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Let's try and let's look at it like a war, and we're trying to eradicate those bad cells, because our bodies are, it's a cycle, isn't it? So we need to look at our bodies very much like we got blood, and everything's always constantly moving within our bodies. Because once your heart stops, that's it, you're done. There's no more life. So we have to look at our bodies like we look at maybe the ocean and the earth. It's always in a constant cycle. We always orbit around the sun. We always, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. So if there's anything that's in our bodies, it's because there's a buildup of kind of mucus when whatever area it is, and we need to kind of flush that mucus out. There's a reason why we're like made up of like 70% or 60% water. We need to be able to flush certain things out our system. And like, it's scary to think that our body, we don't even like, our body's made up of water, and you would think, oh, we should probably give our bodies more of that. But a lot of our diets are not even based around that. It's based around crap. Like the guy just mentioned sugar, like a serious case against sugar. Sugar is probably one of black people's biggest killers. Do you know how many black people are diabetic?
Mm.
It's mad. You know what I mean? And on top of like any dietary um things that we eat that are just not made for us to eat, like whether it's derived from slavery, like things like cow foot, oxtail, all this other stuff, just certain meats, the way
Saltfish.
saltfish, all these things that we are eating that are just killing us slowly. And
Mm.
there's no responsibility taken by what we're eating. Slowly, there's communities growing now, and we're going vegan and things like that. I'm not vegan myself, but like I've gone through that journey, was vegan, been vegan, gone through that things. But I started to realize what my body needs in certain times, and I think it's definitely dependent on the climate that you're living in. Like if I'm in the heat, I'm not eating meats. I don't need it. It makes me feel a certain type of way. If I'm in the winter, it's cold. I need extra layers. I need fat. I need like, do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
yeah, you have to adapt to your environment, and you'll see what people are eating during these different like climates and things like that. But when you're in a hot climate, I guarantee that there is no need for meat. Like there's no real need for meat, like the excessive abuse of meat that we probably have right now. But again, it's another episode for another thing. But I just want to highlight those things, man. Just want to highlight those things.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, man. I think we touched on a lot of things this episode, Jam. Like we've got
There's
we
yeah, we've gone
we've
all
gone
over the place, which is good, man. It's good.
we have, man. It's gone all over the place. And you know what, Ethan, I'm gonna shout you out again, man. Thanks again for joining the show. We were meant to do this on Wednesday. It's now Friday. Life gets in front of us, but we got to do it. And yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. I hope that anyone who was listening, they got some good nuggets from this show in terms of mental health. I still feel like we've only scratched the surface of it as well.
Mm.
So there definitely be other episodes on mental health, man, toxic masculinity. We're all facing a lot of, I guess, adversities in life individually, you know, just from it could be for being a man, being a black man, being if not, maybe not having a sense of community, like, loneliness. We're all facing some of these things, And I feel like instead of bottling it up, we need to be able to talk about it, and like we need to be able to talk to it and release it I think just to other men. I think that's really important. Um, I think what I wanted to say as well was a lot, like maybe like the people that generation before us, places like the barber shop was those places where you could unload,
Mm,
and there was no prejudice, because some people are so scared to say things incorrectly, they just don't say them. Like
mm-hmm.
and it could be just be something about women, it could be something about you know other genders, under other sexualities. Like for example, I know I say the wrong things when it comes to um homosexualities. Like some people might take my comment that I said earlier about women. If there was no women, then this world would not exist. So some, people who are gay might take it as like, what? So what are you saying? That there shouldn't be no there should be no, there should be no gays or something like that. But
Mm,
to me, it makes sense to say that like everything that's existed in this earth that is created by man is because of woman. Like
mm-hmm.
it's because that man came out of a woman, and that's it.
Yeah.
End of, full stop. Like, so it's like this man would not be create. This man would not exist if the woman didn't create you. Do you know what I mean? Didn't give birth
For
to you.
sure.
Do you know what I mean? You're connected. You're
Mm,
only given birth. You've only been born because you were connected to the mother's umbilical cord, and that was how you got your food from a woman. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Like this takes it deeper than anything, but some people might not look at it that way. And then that's why for example, sometimes I think that some people get confused and they choose their sexuality and I think sometimes they're choosing their sexuality as if they choose it like a lifestyle. Again, I'm not going to say that's everybody, because I don't know everybody's story. I just think that there are cases where men choose homosexuality as a lifestyle, as opposed to this is how they really feel. There's things that there's toxic things that happens to boys, especially as a young age, that lead them to choose certain lifestyles. What if you were a young boy and all your friends or some of your community were able to get girls and you couldn't get girls, but you knew you had good rapport with men? You might lean more to the attention of men as opposed to the attention of women, because you feel like at the time when it was time for you to try and get girls or whatever, you couldn't do it for whatever reason. And then you've chosen to go down the men route. Does that still make you, do you know what I mean? It's like it becomes a choice then,
mm,
doesn't it?
mm.
But again, that's another conversation for another time. It's another conversation. But I want to have those conversations. It's not about being sensitive. I'm open. I want to talk about
Yeah,
it. I'm not
I
trying to
think that's
judge.
it. I think it's having a discussion around it and getting different people's viewpoints. It'd be interesting to have a gay person on the show and discuss it with them just to see what their thought process is and where certain thoughts stem from and stuff like that. Because yeah, we can speak being heterosexuals, but it's also good to have the other side and understand from people in that corner. Um, but yeah, we're definitely here for this. What the podcast's for, man. We're here to speak and learn ourselves and help hopefully educate you guys. It's like it's a 360 thing. Like we're not perfect, but yeah, we're try and
We're trying, man.
give ourselves a platform, I guess, to like have these conversations.
100%. We're not here chasing clout. We want the conversation, and we want to learn and enlighten our followers through social media. So yeah, it's a big movement. Jam, that question I asked at the beginning, with if success was guaranteed in any profession that you choose, what profession would you choose and why?
You know what? I think my answer now stems from where I am in my life at the moment. 4 years ago, I would have said, "Oh, professional footballer. That's yeah, it's the dream job." But for me now, I think my ideal job would be within brand management for a within fashion for one of the big hitters within fashion, based around sport. For
Okay.
example, Nike, yeah, for like Nike, footwear, um, in the UK, for example, and being able to kind of direct and dictate their positioning and direction they go in a brand. I think that's the route. Like
So
now,
if that
where I am in my life, I think that would be my goal. Like if I was to think of my end goal, that would be it.
okay, interesting. Very interesting.
But yeah, a
I
couple
wasn't
years ago, that
expecting that.
yeah, it's strange because a couple years ago, even last year, if you asked me last year, I'd have been like, yeah, Culture Shack, that's me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
me,
yeah.
yeah. But I think where I am at the moment, I feel like it's good because I feel like I found my path. I feel like this is where it's leading to. And I'm enjoying. I'm just enjoying where I am in the company I work for and the opportunities I'm getting and the possible opportunities that could come in the future. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
That's a great answer, man. That's good. I think I thought about it today, and
Mm,
I saw it somewhere, and I thought, you know what? What if if I could choose any career and success is guaranteed, and success could be whatever you think success could be. It could be money, it could be just, the achievement of certain projects or whatever. It could be whatever it is. And I thought about it, and it'd actually be, it won't be what, like, I don't want to say it won't be what I'm doing now. It will, but it's like slightly aligned in a different way. And I think for me, I would want to be a successful activist. So if I was an
mm-hmm,
activist, that means that I'm trying to affect change, and change for the better. And I would want to be successful at that. And yeah, I just feel like, yeah, if there was a career where I knew I'd just be successful at it, no matter what happens to me, I'll be successful at creating that change. It would have to be an activist because I want to see change, and I want to, you know what it is? I want to see a positive, like, community with strong ethics just around our own community and our diaspora, where
mm-hmm,
a lot of us are lost,
mm-hmm,
and I want that to change. A lot of us don't control our narrative. I want that to change. A
mm-hmm,
lot of us don't know, like, where we're going in life, like, and what we could be. I want that to change. Like,
mm-hmm,
you know what? Like, there's certain people that I gravitate towards, and one person
mm-hmm,
being someone like, even if it could be older than me, it could be younger than me. Certain people move with different frequencies, and
mm-hmm.
someone like
I'm with you.
Nipsey Hussle, someone like Nipsey Hussle moved on that frequency. Like, you can look at him as just a rapper. Okay, cool, that's one way. But he's an activist. He's no longer with us, but he's affected change in his neighborhood. And that's all I'm trying to do, is just live my life on my own terms, affecting change. And it's sad that sometimes the change that you make results in your life, but I think sometimes the way we look at life is, we put too much fear on death. But anyway, that's another topic. But
Mm-hmm,
I really just want to affect change in a positive way. I heard something that Pau Salu said. He's a rapper. I look at him as more than a rapper, but his frequency is different. And he said that, like, obviously black history that he learns here, very westernized or whatever. And he said something like, "Oh, did you know that Sudan in Africa has more pyramids than Egypt?" And it's like,
really.
yeah. And again, you're gonna be like, "Well, really?" So if you are brought up knowing that you can be a king or a queen, or you're a scientist, you're, I don't know, you can affect change, and you're born into royalty, or you're from a tribe of just like the highest morals, you carry yourself differently. And that's the change. I want my children, your children, to understand that what they're kind of like born into a sense of royalty, in that
Hmm.
there's nothing that can take you away from this. You know yourself straight away.
Mm.
If we look at royalty, and we look at, all right, if you're like Prince Harry, I don't know, I can't remember the name of his son, or is it Al? I can't remember his name of his son, but
George, I think. George.
George. He's gonna know every single one of his. He's gonna know his grandfather, great grandfather, great great grandfather, great 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 father, because they're all stapled in history. So you're never gonna know that. You're never gonna feel like you don't know who you are. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
that's the change. That's the change I want to. That's the change I want to make. Is we need strong families. We need things that are required within our community. You need art. You need music. You need sport. But when it comes to sport and stuff, we're not dancing for other people. We need to own our narrative. We shouldn't have to be out here saying Black Lives Matter. You know, like people, everybody should know Black Lives Matter. But
Mm.
if we owned our narrative, Black Lives Matters without you having to say it. And yeah, if I was successful, then I've created change, and it's done. So that was me.
Mm. No, I
That
like that one.
was
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's a powerful message. And
yeah,
let's hope
man.
we can both work towards like both our goals and get them. And I think as long
Yeah,
as you stay on that path, it's I don't want to say inevitable, but you'll definitely get close to it.
yeah, man. 100%. 100%. I'm happy to conclude it there. It's been an amazing conversation. It's been a pleasure
No, it has. It's been a good
talking.
one. It's been a good.
Yeah, man. We had a lot of people, well, few people engage in the show as well. Big up Ethan for joining us again, and anyone else who's been listening. I would say a couple of names, but I haven't seen all the names that have been listening. But we had a good few listeners there, and yeah, man, keep out for our next show, which will be coming potentially, well, definitely next week. And yeah, man, peace out.
Love, love.